Hello, welcome everybody. Thank you so much for joining me here. Today is day 82 straight of the income stream. That's just, wow, thank you. And some of you have been here every single day too, which is pretty amazing. Today's a special day because we're gonna talk about how to use Twitter, especially for your business, so make sure you stick around. I'm gonna go over, I think, 12 different tips for you. And in fact, I'm gonna live demo for you some of these things and share with you examples of how we might be able to do this together. So welcome in, thanks so much. If you happen to have a Twitter account of your own right now, feel free to pop in your username in the chat so everybody can connect. If you're watching this in the future, know that this is a live stream that happens every single morning here at patflynn.com/theincomestream. So yes, you'll see it's an hour, that might be a lot, but mind you, this is because we are here communicating with the audience. I'm gonna be answering questions along the way. So thank you for coming in, and hopefully you can catch me live again later in the future. But for right now, let's enjoy the show. Here we go.
This is the income stream to help you achieve your dream, all while we keep it clean. This is the income stream. It's the kind of show where you can come and go, but then you leave inspired with no fee required. The income stream with Pat Flynn.
All right, we're talking about how to use Twitter today. Thanks again for being here. Super stoked, totally just cut the music off, but that's okay because we got a lot to talk about. So let's just get started by first welcoming everybody who's here. What's up? I'm at Flyride. We got all the people here sharing their Twitter accounts, which is great. I know a lot of you have been excited about this particular chat because Twitter is something that is often very mysterious. It's kind of an interesting thing. Why is it Twitter? Because they're like little birds tweeting, right? Like Rocket Robin, tweet, tweedly-dee. Anyway, sorry, that was done. Got that one out of the way. Let's move on. Twitter is an interesting platform because it's essentially micro-blogging. That's kind of what it was when it first started. Little bits of text here and there, and then later they added video, and now they have GIFs and images and whatnot. And it's a great place to see a lot of conversation. In fact, Twitter is my favorite tool for research. I love the search bar within Twitter to see what conversations are happening. That's essentially tip number one here, is to join the conversations that are already happening, right? And yes, Gerard, we just started, so you've caught this just at the right time. But Twitter is a great place to see what conversations are happening and join in on the conversation. And you've heard me, if you've been in this room before, heard me share the analogy of social media just in general is like a giant party. And I think Twitter, more than any of the others, is essentially analogous to that, because when you go into a room and there's a party, it's not everybody sort of equidistant from each other. There's little clusters of people and groups of people huddled around having different conversations. And you go to this group here, they're having one conversation. Here's another group over here, they're having another conversation. Here's another group over here, you're having another conversation. And Twitter, by far, is the easiest platform to then join these conversations and be a part of that community, be a part of that crowd, whether that's hashtags or just looking at certain search terms or people who follow certain people or whatever. There's a lot of different ways to engage and to be a part of that conversation. And that's what I would recommend, because a lot of people make the same mistake in terms of Twitter, which is, let me just use it as a place for me to repurpose my content, where essentially every single post is something linking to something else they have, and there's no engagement whatsoever. And the benefit of social media in general is just being social with people and the amazing connections that can happen from there. However, we each have the opportunity to take advantage of these platforms to get more traffic to our website, to introduce people to our offers and these kinds of things. Let me know in the chat if you happen to use Twitter primarily as a social media platform. I typically recommend one or two primary platforms so you're not divided everywhere, but one or two primary social media platforms. For me, Twitter is one of my primary platforms. Instagram is another one. Instagram I use, like we talked about yesterday. You can catch that if you missed out on that, but we do have a replay available from yesterday's chat about Instagram on my YouTube channel. But that's more, in my opinion, connection to me as a person with another person as a person versus the idea of just thoughts and tips and micro blogging type of situations. It's also a great place to see what other people are up to in a very quick fashion. Using lists, for example, on Twitter is a smart thing to do. If, let's say, for example, you follow a number of entrepreneurs. Well, instead of just your general feed, which might have celebrities and friends and family and entrepreneurs and a whole bunch of others, you can use lists to essentially filter these people into one space that you see now all the conversations that are from the people who you follow in the entrepreneurial space. And then you can follow up with them and join the conversation again. Like I said, join the conversation, which is why replying to people and actually adding value to those conversations is really key and a great way to stand out and a great way to get some eyeballs on you too. If you just come into a party and you start promoting your own stuff, I mean, nobody's going to welcome you into the chat, and it's going to be a very lonely time on Twitter, just so you know. Jennifer says, IG is my primary. I'm not on Twitter much at all. Twitter is my favorite, says Beth. That's great. That's awesome. Just mind you that, it's okay that you're not on all of these or even some of these platforms. You might be here getting an education on Twitter, but I don't want you to go, oh, Pat's talking about Twitter, so therefore I must be on Twitter. This week is all about social media here on the income stream. So it's the idea that, you're going to get to see the ins and outs of all these various platforms, and you can pick and choose or go deeper into the one that you're already in. Or if you're just starting out, you can find the one that you are most interested in. And what I love about what Elton said here is, yes, as a primary customer support complaint tool, it's one of the best channels. Yes, I love using Twitter for communication with my audience to help, for support, for customer service, because it essentially forces a quick ask, which can then open itself up to a quick answer, because people aren't going to expect a paragraph or a giant essay coming back to them. Essentially, this forces people to quickly get to the point, and it forces people to understand that you're going to quickly get to the point so you can help people out much sooner. In fact, when my blog started to grow rather large and I was unable to answer every single email anymore, I pushed people over to Twitter so that I can engage with them there and force a quick question instead of sometimes when you open up customer service to email, it's like you're going to get giant paragraphs and essays worth of stuff, and you're going to be unable to get to everybody. Forcing that on Twitter can work extremely well. Now let's continue to talk about, and these are kind of random as they came into my head as I put this slide deck together for you, but tip number 2 here is we're going to use images and GIFs. Now, Twitter is definitely something that is very text heavy, but when you use images and you use especially GIFs, it allows for your content to stand out a little bit more. So I would highly recommend, as much as possible, and when it makes sense, to use more images and GIFs in your content. I posted something this morning, as you'll see here. I have on my account, I just shared this 23 minutes ago, and I embedded a number of things here that I'm going to teach throughout this chat here, but I just want to walk you through this post that just came out. Number 1, I did 2 things to have this stand out in people's feeds, because remember, people are scrolling through with their thumbs. They're just breezing by. You need to figure out a way to get people to capture people's attention. Number 1, I had big caps all at the top, power tip, right? Instead of just the tip, I said power tip, and then here it is. That captures some people's attention. And then I said this tip here, just something that I know would help people. When creating content, start by thinking about the takeaway and then reverse engineer the steps, stories, case studies, etc. to get them there. Then create an awesome hook to start the piece to keep them in. Try it. And then I found a GIF here, and Twitter integrates with a number of GIF platforms to find a GIF very easily when you're creating stuff. You just essentially have to create a tweet, and then you can click on GIF down here, and then you can find a GIF about anything. And I think that I just typed in easy here to add that GIF that you just found. So yeah, there it is right there. And you just add that in there. It doesn't take up any of your character space, and then you can text whatever you want in there too. So let me delete that, but let me show you like how much real estate this takes up versus something like this, which is a pin tweet, which I'll talk about a little bit later. But you can see just the difference between just a regular tweet and the ones with the GIFs, right? And there's a GIF of me from one of the Quaranteam's members there. Spanish and Go sent me that, which is really cool. Thank you for that. But as you can see, the GIFs and the images, they stand out. They take up more real estate. So why would you not do that, right? Why would you not do that? Now, I did make a mistake here. I didn't include a hashtag, but I didn't have any room left. You only have 280 characters to work with, and previously it was 140, so they bumped it up a little bit. But you can create a very, very powerful tool that can also, or a powerful post that can go viral a little bit if you use hashtags as well. So it is similar to Instagram in that you can use a lot of hashtags to get found too. Hashtags are a big thing in Twitter. In fact, Twitter is what started hashtags, if I remember correctly. So hopefully that helps, seeing that in sort of person there, seeing what it might be like to create a post to add value. And because I know a lot of entrepreneurs follow me, I'm already seeing a lot of engagement here on this post, even though it was 25 minutes ago. I can see that if I click into this, 28 likes, 6 retweets, which is pretty cool. And some people even replying to it already. in fact, which is pretty neat. So let me go in here and just kind of see. Yo, Samson, what's up? See, look at Samson's GIF here stood out more than just his text. So even in replying into conversations that you're in, try to use images and GIFs as much as possible. If your GIF game is strong, you will get some more attention for sure. And I can also click on retweets to see who retweeted this with comments. So Tejas here, how to create engaging content, just essentially utilizing this tip to spread it to their audience. Deontay said, this is brilliant. Thanks, Pat Flynn. Cool. And then what I'd like to do here is if I have people engaging with me in this way, I'll click reply and do a quick thank you. Thanks so much for following. I appreciate you. And again, you can see how much quicker this is than using some of these other platforms. And then I might just do fist bump, for example, again, to just be a nice little sort of boom. And now that's going to be something that he'll see when he clicks and sees that I'm replying. And that took, what, 5 seconds to do? Thanks so much for following. I appreciate you. And then perhaps that could lead to some really engaging stuff. I could do the same thing here for Julie. She said, same for books. That is a great point, right? That's a fantastic point for sure. And then I'm going to go, thank you. You the best. Sure. Let's use Michelle from Full House. So it's a fun platform to have conversations. And then with the addition of GIFs and images, it can be something that can be quite fun to have a conversation with somebody about. I like to go here to Learn Up, says Samson. Thank you, Samson. Appreciate that. Stream sniping. That's awesome. Jay Scully. What's up, Jay? Good to see you here. Cool. So anyway, let's move on. I'm going to go see where we're at. So we talked about using images and GIFs. Let's keep going. So tip number 3, ask questions and poll. Getting people to interact with you is a really neat thing to do on Twitter because it's so quick and easy to interact with you versus something on Instagram where it might take a little bit more legwork. Yes, in the stories, it's a little easier, but on the feed, it's much harder to interact. It's simply just a comment. But when you ask questions, you get answers. When you poll people, you might get some results. So let's go back into Twitter here just to kind of see some examples of this. I'm going to go back to my account and we're going to see, let's go back to my feed here. And I'm going back, fourth and fourth, Aaliyah, RIP. So asking questions gets more engagement. People love to have permission to talk. And so here's a couple, not that one. Here's a question that I asked the other day. And this is a fun thing to do if you are building authority in a particular space. Be here as if it was an AMA in certain moments. So here, for example, yesterday, and I shared, what's one thing related to your business that's been bugging you lately? I'll respond to as many replies as possible today to help out or at least point you in the right direction. Let me know. I'll be in and out here all day for you. So I got 39 likes on this, which is really cool. And then I just, for a few moments during the day when I had some time, when I just had a break or, on the toilet or whatever, I'm not going to lie, just being here, answering questions and engaging, right? So for example, Mark was asking questions about struggling to get listeners to the podcast. And then boom, I answered. And guess what? He replied back and he's just very thankful for the input, which is really cool. And I'm going to like his stuff for that. Chris says, I'm in the initial stages of my project, but I keep finding myself not allowing things like graphics. And then I go, hey, you have to be a disaster before you become the master. Check out this post here. And the cool thing is, this is something that is public. So people will now see that you're showing up and you're replying to people and you're offering resources. Each and every individual response becomes an opportunity for you to have that response be seen by other people. So having little moments like this, I don't do this every day, but saying that you're going to be there and you're going to support people can be a really great moment where you can have a whole collection of just people asking questions and people answering your stuff, or you answering your stuff. And also other people can answer the stuff too. And you can @tag people in case you know some resources. And then those people can say, hey, thanks for @tagging me. Hey, sure, yeah, I'd love to support you with that, which would be really cool. So as you can see here, there's just a whole number of people who ask questions and I showed up to reply. And it just shows that you are available to your audience. You're not available all the time. That's the hard thing. If you're starting out, try to be available and respond to everybody. But instead of that, if you're too big to do that, or you just don't have the time, creating pockets of moments where you are available can be the next best thing. Cool, chat. Let me know how you're feeling. You like the pace to today? Let me know so far in the chat. I just want to take a quick stretch. I was up early this morning. And in fact, I was up at 3 a.m. because my battery was low on a fire detector, smoke detector in the house, and I could not for the life of me find it. I literally was searching the house for 30 minutes because, you know, these things beep and it sounds like it's here, and you go to that part of the room and it's not there anymore, and it goes and travels to the other side of the house, and it was just like, oh, okay. So anyway, I fixed it, went to bed, and I didn't get much sleep last night. So anyway, I just need a little bit of quick energy check from y'all to make sure it's good. I love what Lowell's saying here. It's all about relationship marketing, helping, responding, connecting, and being there for each other, right? Which is very opposite of what a lot of people use Twitter for, which is just a place to put repurposed content, or a place to go, hey, check this out, or buy this thing, or look at my next blog post. I think that also, in addition to that, when you ask your audience for help, this can go a very long way too, because people love to show up and help others on these platforms. Let me go back here and see if I can find an example of that in particular. I've retweeting other people's stuff that you enjoy. I've recently retweeted Roberto Blake's stuff, which I think is great. Let's see. This is again another question that gets highly engaged, because my audience of entrepreneurs, a lot of us, we are on Zoom quite a bit. So I just simply asked, how many Zoom calls have you had this week? And you can see some people just saying, like, you know, Karma in the house, 27. That's crazy. 52 for Dale, and again, I'm engaging in there a little bit, but you just see people show up and they feel like they're part of a community because other people are just like them. And you as the leader can step up to create these pockets and moments of opportunity for people to see what's going on and how they're a part of something similar too, right? So I love that. I love that a lot. Asking for help is an awesome approach. Yep. And I think that just shows a little bit of vulnerability. It shows that you are, a part of the community too, versus just a leader sort of essentially speaking down. Let's see, anybody else in the house? You deserve the applause, Pat. Thank you so much. New to Twitter, but I'm watching your live right now to get the hang of it, and then definitely create more. So Gerard, you're literally live watching now, which is really cool. Hey, thanks so much. You're awesome. And then a gift there. You rock. And who's awesome? You, Colin from Whose Line Is It? Cool, I like that. Let's go into some more posts that I've shared to see what has been really helpful or working really well. So let's go. Where was I? Oh, I need to go to my profile. Okay. Profile. And like yesterday, I asked for help. So I'm going to be streaming on Twitch later with my son. We're going to be playing games together. And I asked my community to, hey, I'm on Twitch right now. Can you come on and just give me some feedback on the sound quality and things like that? And it worked extremely well. In fact, a lot of people did comment, and we actually got a few subscribers now, which is pretty cool. But I connected with some people over on Twitch because they came from Twitter. Twitter, I find, is a great sort of hub for bringing people to other places too. I started on Twitter, in fact, and then grew my Instagram channel from there. I grew my Facebook pages and now Facebook groups from Twitter as well. And it does drive a lot of traffic, but that should not be the primary purpose. The primary purpose is connection, right? The primary purpose is connection. I like what is being said here. Thank you. The journey of 1,000 miles. Now, one thing I love to do here, just a quick side tip since we're here, right, is let's say, for example, I see a chat like this and I see the URL, or excuse me, the username, which is not that person's name. What I'll do often is I'll click on that person's name and see if I can find out what this person's actual name is. Because sometimes you pop it in here in the bio, but I don't see it here, so I'm not going to do it. But sometimes you see the username and it's like some brand name, but then you go into the profile and you see that person's name. Maybe it's like Chuck or something. So what I'll do is I'll be like, hey, Chuck, thanks so much. And just mentioning that person's name, that person will notice that you spent a little bit of extra time to go a little bit further in what they're into. In fact, I like to go into the person's account and even click on and see what their latest posts are about, for example, or perhaps even retweet something of theirs really quickly, just to show a little bit of reciprocation, and that can often go a very long way. Okay, so let's keep going here. I'm gonna click into the next tip. Ask questions and poll. For sure, threaded tweets. So threaded tweets are where perhaps you have a lot more to say than just one particular tweet. You have a whole string of things to say. When you are creating tweets now, you can create threaded tweets, or essentially you can add to another tweet such that when a person clicks on that first one, or any one of them, they'll see the entire thing. And I have an example of this myself. So let me bring this up for you. And this was a recent post I made about some thoughts about my take on what has been happening in the world lately. So let me see if I can bring this up, and it's going to take some time. Okay, so here is a threaded tweet, and you can see that I said, hey, business owners, what actions have you taken since you've recently shared your stance and have shown your support for Black Lives Matter? I asked because, and I went through this whole thing of just, 6 things that we're doing already and some of my thoughts. And then people are following up and replying, which is really great. And we're having a conversation about it, which is really fantastic. But the way that I created this and how I strung them together was I created, let me go to my profile, let me hit tweet, and I'm going to tweet something. And then I'm gonna hit this plus on the lower right-hand corner, boom. And now it's gonna add another tweet. Tweet the next thing. I'm not gonna hit publish on this. Tweet number 2, right? And then I can just continue to go on from there. So I can create a thread, as you can see here. Creating a thread is as simple as adding to your previous tweet. So create thread, and I can just continue on from there, but I'm not going to do that because that's not what I wanna do. The mobile experience for Twitter, the app Twitter, is actually really, really good. On a computer, however, I use something a little bit different. I don't prefer to log into Twitter directly from the browser. I use TweetDeck. That allows me to really keep track of my lists. I have certain searches that are there in different columns so I can see when people are talking about those different things. I don't have it on this computer here, but one thing that I do is I'll create a filter for the word SwitchPod. I'll create a filter for my name. I'll create a filter for each title of my books, and I have them in those columns within, again, that tool is called TweetDeck. And what happens is now every time I go to my desktop and I open Twitter or I open TweetDeck, I'll see what conversations have been happening around SwitchPod. And it's essentially just a forced search where in that column it's just searching for that term, and it filters that. So I can see if somebody's mentioned SwitchPod, I can keep up to date, almost like a Google alert, but on Twitter. And that works really well. So if you have any products, if you have any programs that you have, or perhaps something that you're just interested in seeing what the conversation is about, use TweetDeck on your computer, and then you can have filters for searches to see just a running list that changes in real time when people talk about those things. Twitter is an amazing tool for search, like I said earlier. So if I look up SwitchPod, for example, I can find people like accounts who are owned. So this is, Twitter does its thing and knows who owns the SwitchPod or who talks about it, which is pretty cool. But I can go to top and see conversations in and around SwitchPod. So look at this, James buying 5 SwitchPods to give away. Camera Review Pro, right? And if I go in here, likely it's either, let me go into this chat, is it, or let me go into this thread. Well, actually, we haven't done this yet, but I could go, and I should go into here, and in fact, I'm gonna do this right now. What's this person's name? I don't know this person's name, but anyway, I can just say, hey, thanks so much for reviewing the SwitchPod. You rock. Reply. And now I'm engaged in a conversation about something that I didn't know was happening because they didn't @tag me in this situation, right? Let's keep going. Look at this. Almi says, my life is now complete. This also gives me an opportunity to see images and conversations. In fact, a lot of these things can end up on your website because you can embed tweets. I don't know if you knew this, but if I look up how to start a podcast on the computer, and I'm gonna find my search for that. Where am I at? Right here, how to start a podcast. So I use tweets often as proof, right? Because it's very simple to embed them, right? So this is Mindy Joy, who is at Fairytale Mindy, and she tweeted this. In fact, if I click on this, it'll take me to this exact tweet. This exact tweet here. And, oh, actually, it doesn't take me to that exact tweet. This is her exact tweet. This is proof that what a person is about to read here is actually worth reading. So I embedded that really early on in this post to show context, to show proof, almost like a testimonial for a blog post. And that's a strategy that I don't see a lot of people doing. So hopefully you can see that that's cool. Now Omi's here. I'm gonna be like, hey, Omi, thank you so much for the shout out about the SwitchPod. Much appreciated. Much appreciated. Reply. So again, super quick. If you can keep track of the conversations you want to keep track of, it becomes very simple to get involved in these conversations, like I said in tip number 1. And Omi here is doing something that I don't do as good of a job at, which is the hashtag. So if I look up hashtag SwitchPod, that becomes its own search term now, for example. And now Sean McCabe, and I should probably like retweet this one. And retweeting is essentially taking that person's tweet and putting it onto my post. So now if I go into my profile and I hit refresh on that, you'll see that now when a person visits my profile, they'll see Sean's stuff there because I just retweeted it myself. So anyway, I apologize, I'm talking quite a bit here because I have a lot of demos and things to share with you. But yeah, I like that. Elton says, question, does tweets help in backlink to website Google search for SEO? I don't necessarily know if that's true. I would doubt it because it's probably a no follow. However, it does provide context and it does provide a way for people to see more that you're an authority. And it does provide some cross linkage as well. TweetDeck is also really helpful if you're doing a Twitter account takeover. That is something that I've never done before, but that is essentially where you essentially give person rights to your account for a specific period of time. You let your audience know ahead of time that somebody's taking over your account, and then they are there interacting with your audience too, which is really cool. Cool. This is great. Hey, Archer, thank you so much for the super chat. I appreciate you, my friend. Peasant Uprising, Twitter is super fast over other platforms. That's why I love it too. It's just super quick for me, right? Hootsuite is K-Walk Comedy's talking about Hootsuite is it Hootsuite or Hootsuite? Zootsuite? Zootsuite Riot? Zootsuite Riot. Yeah. Sorry. Those come out every once in a while. Dad jokes. Hashtag dad jokes. I would imagine it's pretty similar to that, yeah. But TweetDeck is free and it's easy to use. This is greatness. I took 3 notes in the last 5 minutes, which is 2 notes more than I took in my college career. Thank you so much, Dole Whip. Okay, let's keep going here because I'm having a lot of fun sort of live demoing this for y'all, which is pretty cool. All right, let's go back to the okay, so we talked about threaded tweets. Again, tip number 5, hashtags. This is something that I'm not so great at, but when possible, include hashtags. This just becomes something that is now searchable. It becomes essentially its own list of other people and other items related to that hashtag where people have used it. And again, it's just something that very similar on Instagram is used on Twitter to sort of help collate all that information that is there. Searching hashtags too can be really great related to your industry. For example, I might, as a person who, for example, owns the SwitchPod, let me go into Twitter and I might look up, for example, instead of hashtag SwitchPod, I might look up hashtag camera gear, right? Camera gear. And now I can get a sense of, okay, what other people are doing here. I might look up something like Ecamm Live, right? Which is the tool I'm using right now to stream. And I can find out who's talking about this and you know what's going on in the world of Ecamm Live. Now you have to understand that for something like Ecamm Live, that is definitely a solution to a problem like live streaming. But I could look up something like Ecamm Live, how a person would type it normally, and you might find some interesting conversations here. So let's say, for example, that I searched up Ecamm Live and I'm scrolling down and I'm like, okay, now I want to see people who need help. So here's Bo, who says, who can help me out? Trying to stream a pre-recorded video to Facebook Live for my interview series starting tomorrow. Thought I had it figured out, but hitting some roadblocks. Any ideas? And I can go in here and just add to the conversation. Like I said, join the conversation. I'm a big fan of, and then what I do is I love to @tag Ecamm tweets, I think is it. So I'll @tag in my replies about a solution I'm offering, which then allows me to then begin a conversation with those companies too. Because now I can go, or they'll essentially see or get notified that I @replied with them. And that's essentially how they will find this. So I'm a big fan of Ecamm tweets, been streaming for 82 days straight with them, and it makes it super easy. Let me know if you have any questions about it. Thanks. Reply. And so I don't know who Bo is, but now I've just provided value, and now we can potentially start a conversation, right? Another thing I love to search is, and again, this isn't necessarily hashtags, but I love searching things like, let's say live streaming, and then need help, like that. now I can find out where people are asking questions where they need help about live streaming. So latest, let's see, need help using virtual tools. Let's see, I need help, still need help. Hello, need help. If you guys need help with live streaming on Twitch, let's chat. So now I can connect with this person, which is pretty cool. So I just like using quotations around things like need help or I want or things like that to allow me to find people and, again, join those conversations that are already happening. Twitter search functionality is extremely great. I agree, Sarah, for sure. Cool. First of all, thanks for being here today. I appreciate you. Team Flynn for the win. As always, don't worry, I'm not leaving. I just want to give you a shout out here as we move on to the next tip. Okay, so let's talk a little bit more about promotion versus content. A lot of people ask me, Pat, how often am I allowed to promote on these different platforms? And different platforms have different sort of best practices or an etiquette, if you will. I think if you do 100% promotion, you're going to fail on Twitter, absolutely, where it's just all about you and the things that you have to offer. Why would a person follow or engage with you if you're not at all present in either communicating with people and replying or answering questions, or even providing valuable tips and content? If you're a content creator, if you want to build an authority, don't just use Twitter to push people to where it is that you provide that information and value. Use Twitter itself to provide that value, much like that power tip I mentioned earlier. And if you're coming in late, just let me show you that really quick here. I recently shared a post right before this chat, and it was right here. Power tip. So again, I made it all caps, power tip, so I can stop people from scrolling. I added a GIF so people can find it. And already within the hour, we have 8 retweets, and I can click on retweets to see who retweeted with a comment, and I can reply back to them. I can enjoy the conversation. I can keep going, and that's been really neat and fun too. So look at that. Remember, I tagged Ecamm. Look at that. They liked my reply now. They literally are now engaged with me, and I can reach out to them now individually. I can do a DM and go, hey, Ecamm, you guys are great. That was a private conversation. Anyway, I've already had contact with them before. But what's cool about Twitter as well, much like the reason why I love Instagram, is because the direct messages are very clean, very clear. I can create a video message to reply back to somebody. I can use this now opportunity in a connection in a public forum, like with Ecamm just now, to take it private and begin to have a conversation with them after that, which is pretty cool. Okay, so where was I? Promotion versus content. I would say I would stick to 40% promotion, 60% content. And 40% is a lot. However, Twitter lends itself to more promotion than other platforms. And in fact, you can promote the same thing more often. One secret tip that I have is a tool use, and again, I like what Cornholio here says about using this tip all the time of sort of like engaging with people in a public manner, then going direct message. It allows them to get more guests, right? Because you now have a connection. It's never a cold outreach anymore from that point, which is really cool. Elton says, I can see why Pat likes Twitter so much. Thank you. Is using a GIF and power up tip tactic a tactic we should use if you are brand new to Twitter? Yeah, because remember, again, if people search for certain items and they find you, you're going to be more findable. If people scroll through your profile, they're going to see that there's more personality there. That's what I love about the GIFs in particular, that it just adds a level of flavor and personality to the posts that you would normally share anyway. But again, going back to promotion versus content, you can promote more often than you would normally be allowed to, or at least, be, in terms of etiquette wise, be allowed to share on other platforms, especially like Instagram or other places. Anyway, there's a tool I use with regards to my blog that's really interesting. And I'm not going to log in here because it's going to take some time to show you what I want to show you. But let me just tell you, it's a tool called CoSchedule. And CoSchedule is a really cool tool that you can use in conjunction with your WordPress website, such that you can actually create a series of tweets about an upcoming blog post that's coming out. So essentially within CoSchedule, you can have it connect to your WordPress account, and you can actually see the draft within CoSchedule. And within there, you have an opportunity to add tweets that get published the moment you hit publish on the blog post, it'll fire out that tweet that you've already pre-written. You can have another one follow up a day later with some different context that'll link back to that post when it comes out. You can have another one come out a week later, and you can schedule these things ahead of time. And we do this for all of our posts because it allows for a lot more automation, and we can batch process the tweets, and also LinkedIn can connect with it as well. And I think Facebook too. Again, that tool is called Co-Schedule. There's other tools like Meet Edgar, which are really great, which don't necessarily connect to your WordPress site, but allow you to create essentially a content calendar for your social platforms. And I used Edgar quite a bit. Laura Roeder is the founder. She's great. And she's created an amazing tool over at meetedgar.com. Those are both paid tools, by the way, but they're really great. Our healing project says, I'm finding out that I have been doing this all wrong, which is great because now you can do it right. Now you can do it right. Okay, pin posts. Pin posts are much like on YouTube here. You can pin a comment. Well, you can pin a post of your own. And essentially, this is very simple, so I'm not going to spend too much time on this. But if we go to my profile here, you'll see a pin post that I pinned very recently here. So this is pinned. This is something that will then show up top when a person visits your profile. And you want it to have, you want to just recognize that this is the thing that people will see first. And you want to recognize, okay, well, what feeling am I giving off related to this? It could be something related to something that came out very recently. Perhaps you've shared a whole bunch of tweets since then, but you still want this to be the first thing people find. And that could be a really great, solution for you to just have a great first impression when people come to your profile here. Secondly, you want to change this out every once in a while. In fact, I had a pinned post related to when my book Will It Fly came out in 2016, and I had it up there for about 4 years, or 3 years until I finally changed it. But as you can see, you get more engagement because it's the first thing people see, and I love using that in combination with what I'd mentioned earlier, which is use this opportunity to ask people to share or to ask people a question. So as you can see here, this is the pinned tweet, and you can change it out. You can only have one pinned tweet at a time. But I had offered a space for people to comment and share a little bit more about themselves. And I love doing that because at any moment in time, if I'm feeling disconnected to my audience or if I want to go in and learn more about them, I can just go to my pinned tweet because it's very easily findable. You just go to the profile. And again, this was pinned on April 22nd this year. And now because I'm asking people to share a link of something that they're up to, I can go in here, for example, and I can just go, Justin. Hey, Justin. How's the podcast going? Let me know if you need any help. I also see Xenia and Vlada there, which is pretty cool. Reply. I'm going to go back here. Let's go to Gary. Hey, Gary. Just following up to see how your improv training was coming. You're awesome. And because it's replying directly to them, they're going to get it notified. So I don't often in replies include a GIF. If it's a public thing, I would much prefer to do it then because then it's in a person's feed. If it's an @reply, people will go to their mentions, which is this bell notification icon, and see that mention there too. Andrew says, I'm watching Pat Flynn's income stream live. Great tips. I'm going to retweet that. I like retweeting things like that because they're compliments and it shows other people who maybe aren't following. That's really cool. And I love how you have Spock there, which is pretty neat. Okay. So pin tweet. Don't forget your pin tweet if you don't have that already. Optimize your bio. Yes, your bio is really important because people will read that. It's very common for a person to see you engage in a conversation and go, oh, I want to learn more about that person. So where might they go to learn more about you? They're going to go to your bio. So let's go to our bio here and just, again, bios can always be improved. And I'm not like the expert on Twitter. I'm just sharing essentially how I use it, right? Heather has a great question here. Pat, do you find that posts on social media sent through a third-party tool have less reach than the ones you manually enter? Is the result different on Facebook versus Twitter? There are algorithms at play, and there are definitely noticeable differences when you post from a third-party tool. Twitter is a little bit more friendly in that arena. Facebook, not so much. So you got to be careful for sure. I prefer to just go into Twitter directly when engaging, and I think that also forces me to be in real time with people. I do, however, still see some good results from using tools like CoSchedule to plan my posts ahead of time. And especially if it's for something, whether it gets more reach or not, if people are coming to my profile, those are things that they see anyway. So anyway, let's continue on and talk about your bio. So here's my bio here. So I have a little bit of just, first of all, you want to edit your profile and change out your images and your artwork and make sure that you know that you only have a certain amount of time to use that, or a certain amount of space to go. So this is going to take some copywriting. It's going to take a little bit of, back and forth and trial and error to see what works. But you want to express something that basically shares more about you and what's interesting about you, or perhaps even some credentials. I don't necessarily recommend making it all about you in terms of, here are all my qualifications, and that's cool too, but I think a little bit of personality goes in there too, which I think is important, which is why I start with like lead by example, be honest, hold nothing back, which is just 3 mantras that I live by. Founder of Smart Passive Income, SPI Labs, and SwitchPod, advisor to a few SaaS companies I love. I've changed that every once in a while, but just again, it's important for you to build a relationship on Twitter, and your bio can do a lot of that job for you. And then of course you have a link, and people will at this moment in time go to patflynn.com, which is pretty cool. Let's see. Just looking at the comments here. The great thing about TweetDeck is it's not third party. Twitter owns it. Yes, that is very, very true. So when you use TweetDeck, it doesn't seemingly come from a third party, because it's not. It's coming from the exact company. I remember when TweetDeck was bought out by Twitter. In fact, thank you for that reminder, Michael. That's really cool. So work on your bio. Consider what kind of first impression that gives to people, and how might it add a little bit of personality in there for you too. And look at other people's bios to get inspiration and see what you might be able to do better. All right, let's keep going here. Number 9, link to your account. This is a growth strategy. So wherever you can, pop in a mention that, hey, follow me on Twitter here. And I think it's important to just continuously and habitually do this. At the bottom of emails is a great example. Let me see if I can pop up an example of this on my end to show you just kind of what I do as a... Actually, that's the wrong email account. So one thing I love to do is at the bottom of my emails, essentially in Google's Gmail, you can create a signature. And the signature is cool. Hey, Paul, thank you so much for the super chat. I appreciate you. What's really cool about the signature is you can add things in there that you can just share all the time. Whether a person's actually interested in that or not, it at least gives them an idea. And adding your Twitter and or other important Instagram or social media profiles is important there too. So, for example, here is a template that I use for Pat at smartpassiveincome.com. And I just hit new email, and you can see it already says my signature, Pat Flynn, smartpassiveincome.com, and then connect with me on Twitter and Facebook. That should be Instagram, in fact. But P.S. My new book, Superfans, is out. Check it out here if you haven't already. You might as well add something like that. It's not going to hurt anybody to add that in there a little bit after. And that has actually gotten a lot of clicks because we keep track of that using a pretty link. I think it's been clicked over 10,000 times now, which is pretty cool. So let me head back here. I see some questions coming in, so let's address some of those right now. Journey with Leong says, would you put any Amazon affiliate links on Twitter, or is that a frowned upon? I think, so first of all, yeah, you can do that. However, if you do that, you have to be very upfront that is an affiliate link. So you can use hashtag ad in that tweet if it indeed goes to Amazon. However, it might not be so great for your audience to see that you are actually just using the social media platforms and the relationships that you're building there to essentially make money off of them. And this is definitely something that's been done before, and it's been proven successful. However, again, I prefer to come at social media with a relationship building standpoint, and you don't want to go to a party and ask people to essentially spend money with you immediately. In fact, my preference would be to link to a blog post or a YouTube video or a podcast episode And that's where the affiliate links are, because I'm actually able to give more value there, to potentially sell people into that product a little bit better, to have more room to share my experience with that product versus just in a tweet or a series of tweets. So that way I don't have to put hashtag ad there, because it's not an ad. It's a link to a helpful post about something. And then in that post itself is where I would have the affiliate disclaimer and those links and pictures and perhaps a demo video embedded from YouTube in there as well. And that would also be more findable in your website and on search too. So by sharing affiliate links in Twitter, I mean, the hard thing about social media is you'll post something and it essentially after a day it's gone and it's there. You can find it later, but it's not, nobody's seeing it in their feed anymore because they have other things in there. So it's not as evergreen, even though it is something that lasts forever until you delete that post. So this is why I love to have, especially where you plant seeds like affiliate links, on your website instead, if that makes sense. Putting affiliate links on Twitter, why would someone click on it? I mean, hey everybody, here's a useful tool that I use called Ecamm Live to Live Stream. If you want to check it out, click here, hashtag ad. This is an affiliate link, right? So I can see it being used. It's just your audience will know that that's an affiliate link. And I think if you're honest and upfront about it and there's value there, then yeah, it could work. But I think that having it on your website, you'll just do a lot better doing it that way. Lewis says, right, like meeting someone and then first thing he asks is if you need life insurance before finding out what I do for a living. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. All right, let me do a quick stretch and then let me just play some music. A little bit of intermission here before we get into the final stretch. I got 3 more tips for you. Let me know so far in the chat while I stretch, what has been your best tip so far? So we're gonna spend maybe 30 seconds as we play the music. I get a little jumping jacks and dancing in. Thank you for letting me do this. It gives me a little bit of a boost before we finish up. Yeah, I love what Coach Deb here said. What's up, Deb? Good to see you in here again, as always. But they'll click on your links if you provided value to them. If it's somebody new that you've never met before, why would they click on that link and try to help you out? But if you've provided value in the past, they're going to be more open to the idea of having a link in there too. So thank you. Appreciate that. So a question here from Paul. Pat, do you suggest a business Twitter account separate from your personal account? Thank you so much, E-Rock. That really depends. It really depends. If you're a personal brand, obviously, it may make sense for you to have a personal account. I think the big idea here is that whatever you do, you have to show up and be somebody that a person can connect with, because that's what people want to connect. People don't want to connect with the logo of your brand. They don't want to connect with the company. They want to connect with the people at that company or you. And so having a business account separate from your personal stuff can make a lot of sense, especially if the personal stuff you want to reserve for more friends and stuff. However, there is something to be said for having the businesses run under your name and having that just be you in general. You as a person, Paul, are an owner of these companies, and you also have these likes and these dislikes and things. I think it also depends on perhaps how involved you are in other conversations about things that could potentially hurt your business. Just talking about, for example, politics and whatnot. Sometimes a lot of people who follow your brand might not want to follow that part of you. And so you just have to keep that in mind. So there's no right or wrong. Just the most important thing is that wherever you are, you have to show up. Cool. Great tips and suggestions from all of you. Thank you so much. The stretching feels good. I'm glad you're doing it too, Gabriella. I love that. Cool. All right, let's keep going here. So, commentary strategy. Honestly, I'm trying to remember what I was thinking last night in terms of this. I think it... Okay, so where this comes, it's sort of a way for you to provide commentary on something that's happening and invite other people in the conversation with you. So offering your own thoughts or opinions is really important because it also shows your stance on things and where you stand on certain items. And then it allows for that conversation to open up, especially when you invite people or give permission to people to also comment too, as opposed to just, here's my stuff, go check it out, or here's a tip. Your opinion is something that's really very interesting. And this is where we start to get into more intellectual type conversations that can happen on these platforms. And you can build even further relationships too. So instead of a question, like I proposed earlier, in fact, if I go here, I could probably find this. So like I said earlier, questions are really cool because they are something that, and Twitter is also a great platform for like random things, right? Like, look, Large Marge sent me, name that movie. And I was just watching Pee Wee Herman, and this, like, Twitter lends itself to that. If you were to do this like in an Instagram feed, that wouldn't work very well. If you were to do this on LinkedIn, it probably wouldn't work very well. But I love to add just a little bit of just, instead of just saying, hey, I watched Pee Wee Herman, I might say, Large Marge sent me, name that movie. And I get to play a little game with people, which is really fun. But let's see. Instead of a question like, how many Zoom calls did you have this past week? Perhaps adding a little bit of an opinion piece, like an op-ed piece about this could be really interesting. So, for example, I might be like, since using Zoom over 30 to 40 times per week over the last few weeks, I've come to a single conclusion. Zoom fatigue is real. Are you feeling it? Why, without the why is it, do you feel that when we just watch a video like this, we get tired? Or I can add my own thoughts about it. Anyway, I'm not going to publish that because I can wordsmith that a little bit better. But adding a little bit of a commentary or an opinion piece, for example, and then allowing people to comment on that. I mean, that's what sparks conversation. That's a great conversation sparker. So there's questions, there's polls, there's adding value, there's like adding tips to support you as the authority. And there's also just your opinion where there's not necessarily a correct answer, but it's an open invitation to have a conversation. Number 11, as we finish up here, test, experiment, try different things, and try to be creative. Social media platforms lend itself to creativity, and sometimes things work out really well, sometimes things don't. There's a lot of different ways that people have used Twitter creatively. For example, doing like a Twitter party where at a certain time during a certain part of the week, you tell people ahead of time that you're going to be live and you're going to use this hashtag the entire Twitter party, and people can just be essentially in this corner of a room together, right? The social media thing, it's like we're all in a room. Hey, let's create our own little party over here, use this hashtag during this hour, and we'll just have a conversation around this for that particular given moment of time. And that way you can have a little bit more of an event-like structure there too. Perhaps using the video component within Twitter can be really neat and something fun and exciting for you to do. In fact, I wonder if I could do that here on the iPad, because that would be something that would be fun to experiment with. How is the engagement if you use a video versus if you don't use a video? So let's go to Twitter here. And again, one thing I love to do is just, actually, let's go to my @replies and see who recently replied. So we got the Scooby Life. What's up, Scooby Life? Good to see you here. I know you're in the chat right now, but I'm gonna see if I can reply. And I don't yet, do I have a video? I'm not gonna do that here. Anyway, in many cases, you can just shoot a video really quickly. Hey, look at Omi, who, this was the SwitchPod thing. He's not in this chat, I believe, but he says, I absolutely love it and use it every single day. Now I can re-engage with Omi and say, that is awesome. By the way, if you have any other little frictions that bother you in your videography, in your videos, in your video creation workflow, let me know. Appreciate you. So that right there, just had legit a conversation with Omi. And now, like Omi, I don't know who Omi is, but it looks like he has a YouTube channel. It might be very interesting for me to then reach out to him. Let me follow him. And I can reach out to him individually and say, hey, let's do collaboration. I see you have a YouTube channel, and I can go from there. I even see he's in London now, which is pretty cool. And I can, in a conversation, say, hey, I was in London last year, and I've been meaning to go back, and maybe we can meet up at some point, which is pretty cool. Cool. This is great. You're giving me so many ideas of how useful Twitter can be to do what I need to do to hear the needs of my audience. Thanks. Yes, and you can start from scratch. That's the other thing. You can do a lot of the stuff without needing any followers because there are conversations happening. You can reply. And again, Omi I wasn't following and he wasn't following me, I don't believe. But now we're following each other as a result of a connection through a conversation I saw that was already happening, right? Which is pretty cool. So experiment, try things out, see what happens. Pay attention to what works, do more of that. Pay attention to what doesn't work, do less of that. And then finally, this is going to be the thing that I want to offer you in terms of a skill that you can use that would help you on Twitter or just social media in general. Copywriting is a skill that can be learned, and there are a lot of great resources online and a lot of great people who teach copywriting. If you want to hear a person on my podcast recently, her name is Prerna from Content Bistro. She talks about sales pages. It makes it so easy to follow. But copywriting is a skill, essentially the words that you write on Twitter or on a sales page or in your emails, whatever, that's copywriting, not copywriting like I'm going to copyright the song, right? Not intellectual property copywriting, but copywriting the text that you write to convince a person about something or to do something or to take action on something. That's the skill that would help you a lot in terms of results, because with such little space, especially here on Twitter, the specific words you choose matter. But at the same time, you also have to speak as if it's just you and yourself. So combining actionable copy that helps people see the value of what it is that you're sharing or engage with you more, combined with your personality, that's where you have a perfect marriage there, and it can work really well too. So Ray Edwards, definitely another good friend who does things too. Super helpful reply tweet from the creator of SwitchPod equals goes a long way in building trust. Yeah, I mean, I built that product, and to see this person respond after a creator reaches out is pretty cool. And you are all creators. You are all authorities. And how many conversations have you left hanging? How many handshakes have you left unshook? How many people would love to hear from you? Twitter makes it very easy. So, hey, Team Flynn, we had a great conversation today. Hopefully this was helpful for you. Thank you so much for the conversation today. And tomorrow, I think we're going to talk about Facebook groups specifically. Facebook in general is going to take like a whole month of daily streaming to go through all the components of it. And it changes all the time. But I think groups will allow us to go and focus on just groups in general, but like for wherever you have a community and into the future. But Facebook groups are a great opportunity, and to use them in particular cases, like as a support forum for your courses, as a pop-up group to bring an event-like feel to a challenge. There's a lot of different ways to use groups, and I have a lot of hacks that you might be able to benefit from. So this is a great day today. Thank you so much for your time and attention. For those of you watching, make sure you come here tomorrow, patflynn.com/theincomestream. Tomorrow, we're going to start a half hour earlier, though. It is Wednesday, and because I have a call with my mastermind group at 8:30 a.m. Pacific, we're going to start, instead of 8 a.m. Pacific, we're going to start at 7:30 a.m. Pacific. So if you forget and you come in halfway through, that's all good. You get the replay, obviously, in YouTube afterwards. But tomorrow, we're going to talk about Facebook groups in particular, because that's where I feel Facebook is best at right now. So we're going to talk about Facebook groups. Come in here tomorrow. And yeah, that'd be great. Thank you so much, Team Flynn. You're amazing. As always, hashtag Team Flynn for the win. And as a quick side note, if you want to follow me and my son on Twitch, yes, Twitch, here's what you can do in case you want to watch us stream and experiment later. I'm building a Twitch channel for us to game together, and I can use that opportunity to teach lessons for parents and kids as they're watching, and we're going to have some fun. But all you have to do is go to twitch.tv/hotcoalsonly. He chose that name. I think it's pretty cool. And again, that's where you want to go. Twitch.tv/hotcoalsonly. It looks very bare right now. I just did 2 test runs yesterday, checking the quality. Twitch is a completely different beast. I'm excited to dive into it with my son. And if you want to follow us, if you have kids, perhaps that could be a neat place for you to check it out. So anyway, thank you so much. Hot calls only on Twitch, and I hope to see you tomorrow. patflynn.com/theincomestream. Cheers. Take care. Be well. And as always, you're amazing. Keep up the great work.
This is the income stream to help you achieve your dream. All while we keep it clean. This is the income stream. It's the kind of show where you can come and go, but then you leave inspired with no fee required. The income stream with Pat Flynn.
Man, how does this hour go by so quickly? It's because you're awesome and you keep engaging with myself and each other. Keep doing that. Keep bringing people in. If you wanted to invite people to the show tomorrow, that'd be great. 7:30 a.m. Pacific. patflynn.com/theincomestream. Peace out.